My name's Cath Dormer from Cath's Thermo Tricks. Today we're going to be talking about setting up your new Thermomix TM6. The first thing you need to do is take it out of the box and sit it on a flat level surface and make sure that there's nothing underneath the feet. So the feet of your Thermomix, these three little feet, they are the sensors for the scales. So it's important that there's nothing leaning on your Thermomix or no food debris under there. And also it's important that you don't drag your Thermomix across the bench to maintain your scales and keep them in great condition. There is a carrying handle on your Thermomix, so when you lift it out of the box, use that carrying handle. Take away all of the plastic, including the blue plastic on the locking arms, as well as the clear screen protector. If you leave them on, you'll find that they get a little bit grimy and they'll stay sticky. And on the screen, you can get some food debris or moisture under there, and that can affect the sensitivity of the screen as well. When you're setting your Thermomix up for the first time, you'll want handy your Wi-Fi password and also the login details to your cookidoo.com.au account. Your Thermomix will go through about a 10-minute initialization, and then it will prompt you for your Wi-Fi password and ask you to log into your Cookidoo account. So having those ready will make sure that you're cooking in no time. The first time you connect your Thermomix, you can use the WPS button on your modem as well. That's really handy if you've forgotten your password. The Thermomix will remember the Wi-Fi connection you're connected to, and you can hotspot if you're away from your home as well, which makes your Thermomix more accessible than ever. When setting up your Thermomix for the first time, it will prompt you to log into your Cookidoo. This will activate your 6-month bonus subscription. It's really important that you use your own login to log into your Thermomix for the first time, because if somebody else uses their login, the bonus subscription will go onto their Cookidoo. The safety of our customers at Thermomix is really important. You'll notice the safety guidelines will appear on your screen the first time you turn your Thermomix on, and they will appear periodically as well. Just a little tip, if you see these safety messages appearing a lot, it means you're not booting down the Thermomix correctly. To turn your Thermomix on or off, use the big silver selector. Hold the silver selector in for a couple of seconds, and that will help you to turn your Thermomix off. Or you can leave it sit idle for 15 minutes and it will turn itself off. Before you use your new Thermomix, it's important that you read all instructions thoroughly. In your hard copy instruction manual, you will have access to extra information on how to use all of the parts safely and how to operate your Thermomix safely and efficiently. Over time, however, we do tend to misplace manuals. So the good news is, on your TM6, under the main menu from the top left-hand corner, you can press the Help button and you can access the entire instruction manual at your fingertips. You can read the safety instructions anytime. You can look up the Thermomix contact details, and also when you select the instruction manual, it will break the manual up into easy to find chapters so you find the information you're looking for quickly and easily. Let's look at selecting recipes on your Thermomix. There's a few different ways to do this. The easiest way is searching Cookidoo, which you can do by the magnifying glass on the top right hand corner of your screen, or you can swipe from left to right and browse Cookidoo. Cookidoo on the screen of your Thermomix TM6 looks just like it does on your tablet or phone on the app, or even on your PC, so you can use whichever device suits you. I'll show you how to search for a recipe in a moment, but realize that you can slide the screen up and you can view the latest recipes that have been loaded onto the Cookidoo platform. You can have a look at Recipe Spotlight, See what everybody else is cooking under the most cooked. We've got a Spotlight cookbook, and we're always bringing out new cookbooks each year. Now, when you have a cookidoo.com.au subscription, any new cookbooks get loaded straight onto your digital Cookidoo subscription. It's only $49 a year, so that's less than $1 a week to access all of the amazing recipes. So we've got some suggestions based on the time of year. The latest collections, and it also breaks it down into categories. So if you're not sure what you'd like to eat, but you know which meal it is, this can help you to refine your search. We've even got video instructions on Cookidoo. How cool is that? All right, so if we go to the search function, we'll be able to type in either the name of a recipe, the name of an ingredient, or the type of recipe that we're after. So you can use keywords like gluten-free or low carb, vegan, breakfast, Varoma, you name it. So use Cookidoo like your own Google for recipes. I'm going to do a really broad search now and show you how to refine using filters. So if I type in chicken, for instance, so once you've typed in your keyword, press the search button. It will suggest names as you're typing as well. If you don't select those names and hit the search button, you'll be presented with a whole range of results. So I can see that 413 recipes with chicken have been found on the Australian platform. Wow. I don't have time to search through 400 recipes to find the right chicken dinner for me. So on the top right hand corner, you have filters. So when I press the filters, it's going to ask me what category suits me best. So I can choose from things like starters, soups, pasta and rice dishes, main dishes with meat. So I'm selecting that. I don't mind if it's a soup either. So I've selected 3 options there. If I keep scrolling down though, in the section that says ingredients, you can type in other ingredients that you do have, or other ingredients that you don't have or maybe can't have, simply by putting the minus sign before the ingredient that you don't want in the search results as well. You can include tags. Tags are keywords that you can refine your search on. So some of them are dinner, main course, everyday, but you've also got things like egg-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, things like that that you can refine to find the right recipe for you. So you've got the difficulty, easy, medium, or advanced. They're all easy. If you can read the screen, you can cook on a Thermomix. Here's one that I like. The preparation time. I can select 15 minutes or less of preparation time. And the preparation time is how much time you're standing and actively cooking. We've also got total time, which explains how long until the recipe is complete. So how long before you can eat the recipe. And I'd like that to be 45 minutes or less. So we've got portion sizes here, up to 8 servings. Star ratings, so you can find what people love the most, which recipes, and make sure you rate your favorites too, so you can help everybody else out. You can refine by TM6 only recipes that will unlock the amazing functions that the TM6 has, like the high temperature. But here is what most people forget about, is the language and the country. So I can remove the Australian filter, but select the English filter. So I can then search for recipes across the US, the UK, and Australia as well. If you choose an American recipe, your Thermomix will automatically switch over to imperial measurements. And when you complete the recipe, it will switch your Thermomix back to metric. How's that? So I now have 209 chicken recipes that are made in 15 minutes of prep time. So once we start scrolling through and you find a recipe that you might like to make, the chicken velouté meal is one of my favourites. I can see here that it's been rated 4 stars by our Cookidoo community, and that this meal takes 40 minutes to get onto the table. The 3 dots that are stacked on top of each other will give you some options. If you press those, you'll be able to add it to your Cook Today list, or you can add it as a bookmark. I recommend putting your top 10 recipes in as bookmarks, so things that you will cook every week. Or I can add this straight to my shopping list if I don't actually have the ingredients to make it now. Also, if you just click the picture, it will take you directly to the recipe. Occasionally you'll see a message pop up saying a newer version of this recipe is available. That will happen when we update a recipe in that same cookbook. And all you need to do is press the OK button. Because your TM6 is smart connected to Wi-Fi, if we do have an update on a recipe to make that recipe even better than before, we'll be able to give you those changes straight away. When you're looking at a recipe, you can see we've got a beautiful colour picture on the large digital display. You can press Start Cooking if you're already prepared to cook straight away, or if you scroll down, it'll tell you some more information. How easy it is, this one's easy. The preparation time, in this case, is 15 minutes. Total time is 40 minutes. And this recipe serves 4 portions, and they are generous. Once you scroll down, you'll have all of your ingredients listed on the left, or your preparation steps on the right. Now, when you're looking at these preparation steps, if you're following the recipe loosely, or you might be only making a portion of the recipe, you're welcome to click on whichever step suits you and it will jump you to the right place as well. If you keep scrolling past that, you've got any handy utensils you might need and hints and tips right at the bottom, which will allow you to make variations and tell you a little bit of extra detail about how long some recipes are kept for, and sometimes some fun facts as well. On the left-hand side, under the ingredients list, you have the full nutritional panel. So if you need to count things like fats or sugars or carbohydrates and proteins, all of that is listed there for every single recipe on Cookidoo. When you're ready to start cooking, it's as simple as hitting Start Cooking. And the recipe will guide you through pre-setting the time, temperature, speed, and the scale. When you're using guided cooking, it's as simple as putting the ingredients in and pressing the next button. If you don't like a particular ingredient, or if you are substituting an ingredient, please feel free to do so. So our recipes are a guide and they all are triple tested. However, use them like you would any other recipe and make the substitutions that you would normally make. Just remember that that will affect the outcome of the recipe as well. Let's have a look at how to take the bowl apart for easy cleaning. Firstly, take off the lid and flip it over so you don't get any condensation on the bench. The jug lifts straight up and you'll make sure that you've tipped out any contents. You'll see underneath the bowl a jelly bean shaped cutout, and that is for your fingers to sit in, and your palm will squeeze under the handle. Twist the base clockwise, or if you're looking at it, to the left. I'll just do that again from that angle. So twist that way. It's important not to turn your jug upside down when the base is loose, because the blades could fall out and they are heavy. So lift the base off and pop it to the side. The blades are now loose and you can lift using the safety knob on the top. Please be careful with the blades. If you've cooked something hot, they will be hot to touch. You'll notice there's a hole in the bottom of this bowl. It's incredibly important not to sit this onto the base unit unless it's assembled correctly, as you would run the risk of flooding the internals of your machine. There is a safety catch on the bottom of your bowl which will prevent the bowl being able to be used if it's not assembled properly. In the case of a spill, there is a drain hole at the back of your Thermomix. I'll lift mine up so you can see. At the back there. If any liquid gets into that recess, we want you to call your consultant. So call me or call Thermomix direct on their 1-800 number and they will advise you to leave your Thermomix off. Do not tip it on its back. That's where the motherboard lives. And we will advise you to send your machine in to get looked over by service to make sure there's no food residue, which could cause any erosion or degradation over time. You'll notice inside your bowl is one flat piece of steel that makes cleaning a breeze. All of the parts of your Thermomix except the base with the power cord are dishwasher savers. You are allowed to submerge this bowl if you're hand washing, but make sure everything is dried correctly before placing back onto the docking station. Now, to pop your bowl back together, I turn my base to the left and line it up with that little triangular mark. And when you look inside the bowl, you'll see that the base and the bowl line up correctly for the blades to slide straight in to position. When the blades are sitting flat, you'll feel resistance to slide the base back towards the handle. If the base and the handle are lined up correctly, you'll know that your bowl is sealed, ready to be used. Please make sure the pins are dry before popping your bowl back onto the base of your Thermomix for use. When it comes to cooking on your Thermomix, you can cook in a few different ways. You'll be able to change the time, the temperature, and the speed manually. Everything's adjusted using the silver selector on the right-hand side of your Thermomix. It's your on button. If you hold it in for a few seconds, it's your off button. And also, whichever dial is the largest, is the one that you're adjusting. So with the temperature dial, you can set it as low as 37 degrees if you're doing something like warming baby's milk, or you might be setting it to around 50 degrees if you're tempering chocolate, going right up to 95 or 98 degrees to scald milk, 100 degrees is a boil, 120 degrees to saute. And the last temperature setting is Varoma, and you use Varoma temperature setting in conjunction with our Varoma steamer. When adjusting the speed, select the speed dial on the right hand side, and this icon will either display a set of blades or, when you press that, a reverse symbol. So the blades mean chop and the reverse symbol means stir. So when the blades are moving clockwise, they'll be chopping, and when they're anti-clockwise, they'll be stirring with the blunt side of the blade. So that means you can perform really powerful things like milling and grinding and chopping using the chop function, or stirring gentle things like risottos without chopping up gentle ingredients like mushrooms with the stir mode. To stop cooking at any time, press the silver selector to stop the blades. This will release the locking arms so that the lid can safely be removed and you can continue what you were doing. Did you know that when these lights flash red on your Thermomix, that means it's hot to touch? It indicates that the internal temperature is above 60 degrees and that the stainless steel is hot to touch. At all times, the handles will remain cool to touch. You can always tell the internal temperature on your bowl by looking at the top figure on the temperature dial. The top figure will indicate how hot it is inside the bowl. The bottom figure, if any, will indicate the target temperature that you've set. have a look at what your Thermomix comes with. You'll have a hard copy of the basic cookbook that comes with your Thermomix. You'll be able to find the digital version under the main menu on the top left of your screen, My Recipes, and Saved Collections. In your basic cookbook, there is some great references. On page 10, you've got a great explanation of all of the parts that come with your Thermomix, and I'll go through them in detail in a moment. On page 16 and 17, there's some great guides on how to cook manually with your Thermomix as well. If you're wondering how to use your Thermomix without a recipe, this is a great place to start. On page 307 are the resources. Now, these are real specifics that will tell you the difference between grating apple or grating carrot or cabbage or cheese. So this will actually break down the amount of the ingredient and the time and the speed in which you need to process to get your desired result. Moving through, you've got things like grinding, grating, milling, and mincing as well. How to crush ice, chop. Look at all these amazing functions that you can be doing with your Thermomix. You can be milling your own coffee beans, you could be making almond meals or nut butters, even making your own pantry staples like baking powder and gluten-free flour. And then on page 316, you've got the steaming functions. So if you just wanted to know how much time to steam 3 spears of asparagus, it'll tell you in here. The measuring cup on your Thermomix will be the accessory you use most on the lid. Keep an eye on your guided cooking recipes to show you an icon of which accessory you need at the appropriate step in your recipe. The measuring cup simply sits inside of the lid. So there's a great big hole in the lid that's designed to allow steam to escape and to prevent any pressure from building up inside the Thermomix. To pop the measuring cup on, there's 2 little lugs that sit either side, and if you simply put one towards the back and one towards the front, it will sit into place. I'll just do that from the other side so you can see. So one first and then second. The lugs are lined up with the pouring spout so that you know when that measuring cup sitting on top in place, you can push the highest part and it will come out freely. The measuring cup is designed for a few things. It will keep everything in the bowl contained so it doesn't make a mess. Secondly, it does have a little silicone lining which will help to reduce some of the noise that the Thermomix creates when it's doing its amazingly powerful tasks. Thirdly, it is very practical. There's a 100mm marking on the back, and on the spout side there is a 50mm marking right over there. So you can use that as a measure to pour things into your Thermomix, but also if you're doing amazing things like emulsions and making maybe mayonnaise, you can use this to place on top of the Thermomix and pour the oil into the recess here, and these little spaces will allow the oil to drizzle through very slowly so you don't split your mayonnaise. So you can really cook like a professional. This is your butterfly whisk. You'll use this to create amazing meringues, whipped cream in as little as 30 seconds to a minute or 2. It is incredibly fast and efficient to use. I also use this for anything that needs aeration, sometimes emulsions, and even mashed potato. To use your whisk, it will sit to the left of the tallest blade in your Thermomix. Locate the blade that's pointing towards the ceiling and then pop it between the shortest and the tallest blade. As the blades start moving, it will counter-turn into position and lock into place securely. To remove the whisk, give it a counter turn and lift up. It's important to remember that using the whisk at a maximum of speed 4, and that's indicated on the side of your whisk. All of our built-in recipes will have the speed preset for you so you don't make a mistake. This is your Thermomix spatula. You'll use it to remove your steamer basket and also to really efficiently scrape down the bowl of your Thermomix. When using your spatula, try and use the long edge against the side of the bowl and scrape around clockwise. Don't be tempted to scrape from top to bottom, or you could catch your spatula on that top blade. So to prolong the life of your spatula, scrape with the long edge around clockwise. When it comes to scraping the bottom of your bowl, scrape around clockwise around the blades, and you'll get a nice clean scrape using our silicone spatula. If you're processing something like coleslaw, where some bigger pieces of cabbage might be dancing around on top of the blades, or you might be making cocktails and crushing ice, you can safely use this spatula through the top of the lid and churn the ingredients inside. That will help you prevent any chamberization or air pockets that form where the blades might miss the food. Always use the Thermomix spatula to do this because it has a safety collar, which means the blades will never come into contact with the spatula. You'll notice too, the spatula sits using a teardrop design. It won't roll off your bench, and it also sits up off the bench to prevent a little mess while you're cooking as well. When you want to steam anything in your Thermomix, you'll need liquid in the jug. The liquid can be a sauce, a soup, or it could be as simple as a broth or a water. You'll need to have the temperature turned right up to Varoma temperature, which is the highest setting that you can manually set. And remember, on the TM6 you can unlock high temperature, but you must follow a guided recipe to do so. Usually you would use speeds 2 to 4 to circulate the liquid to steam what you've got up the top. Now there's 2 accessories you'll use when you're steaming. The steamer basket can be used. This one has a lid for safety, and also you'll notice there's a maximum fill line. Now you can use this as a plunger. If you've made something like lemonade, you can strain that through and catch the pulp. Another recipe would be butter. If you're separating the curds in the whey, you will strain the liquid off and retain the solids in the bowl. So that's one way to use your steamer basket. The other way to use your steamer basket is by steaming things, cooking things with the power of steam. So in this basket, you might have some rice, or you might have some meatballs, or even as simple as a few eggs. When your food is in the basket, you'll pop the basket in with this part facing the handle. The lid goes on. Your Thermomix lid always needs to be on for your Thermomix to operate. And if the locking arms can't clamp down safely, then your machine won't work and an error message will appear on the screen. The measuring cup needs to come out, and now the Varoma can sit on top. Now the Varoma has 3 parts. It has a lid, a shallow tray, so this is what's called the Varoma tray, and the Varoma dish. Now you can see they've all got vent holes so that when they're sitting on top of the Thermomix, the steam can come through those layers and cook the food up the top. So this is 3.3 litres in size, and it's big enough to fit a whole chicken or 4 lamb shanks or corned silverside, pork belly. even steamed cheesecakes. So we have a special 20 centimetre springform pan, a baking tray and a pudding dish that all fit in this Thermomix, along with our exclusive white thermo server, which is one of our host rewards at the moment. The tray is optional. You can use your Varoma with or without the tray. You can line this part with baking paper. We even have pre-cut baking papers in the mix shop, which come with or without steam holes, depending on what you're making. If you line this with baking paper, you'll be able to cook an omelette up the top. Or you might have a big meal cooking with some broth in the bottom, or a soup with a basket of rice with dim sims or wontons or meatballs or fish or chicken in the Varoma dish, and then perhaps some vegetables right on top. As a general rule, whichever takes the least amount to cook would get added last. So always keep an eye on, if you're doing your own Varoma recipes, to get the timing right. Now, it's important that the lid is sitting flat before you steam, and it does have some vent holes to allow steam to escape, so please don't put your hand over the top of that while it's cooking. You'll need a litre of liquid per hour of steaming, or 250 mils per 15 minutes of steaming. When you open the lid of the Varoma, please open the lid away from your face so you don't get any steam burns. You may use the lid as a drip tray, and the Varoma itself will be hot, but the handles will stay cool to touch. So you can take the Varoma away just like that. With the steamer basket, take the lid off using the ergonomic handle, and I always flip the lid over so that you don't have any condensation dripping on the bench. Use the hook of your spatula to hook into your steamer basket. Pull it back so it feels secure, and you'll be able to lift the basket up. When it comes to taking the spatula off, obviously this will be hot, so pop it onto something that is heat proof. Using an arc motion, you'll be able to slide that spatula off. When lifting the steamer basket out of the Thermomix, you can tilt up the steamer basket and allow it to drain. One of the massive advancements of the Thermomix TM6 model is the ability to do high temperature cooking. This means the Thermomix goes at least 50 degrees hotter than our previous models. So you can do amazing caramels, toffees, honeycomb, as well as browning onions and meats. To use the high temperature function, you need to use a guided recipe for safety purposes. To find a guided recipe, simply press the magnifying glass in the top right-hand corner of your screen, or swipe to access Cookidoo. Caramelized onion is something that I add to many of our favourite Thermomix recipes that we've been cooking for years. So to enable us to use our family favourites, but also add the component of caramelizing, we've made a high temperature collection for you to access. So you can either use keywords like onion, for instance, or caramelized, or you can simply type in high temp. And that's going to bring up an assortment of recipes that use the new high temperature function. To save a recipe, simply select the three dots on the right hand side, and you can choose to cook it today, to add it to your bookmark, or add it to your shopping list. When using a high temperature recipe like caramelized onion or meat, you'll need to use the splash guard. This splash guard is designed to allow steam to escape from the vent holes and prevent you and your kitchen from getting splattered with hot fat. A special message appears on the screen advising you to add the splash guard on top of the normal lid, and it will lock into position when the blades start moving. You'll also notice a new icon, which means high temperature. It's important that you follow high temperature recipes' quantity of ingredients precisely so that you get a great result every time. To start using the high temperature mode in your guided cooking, simply turn the speed selector. As you can see, I haven't followed the instructions correctly. The Thermomix knows that I haven't used the appropriate quantities, and it's actually given me a warning to say the cooking process was stopped because the ingredients and quantities differ too much from the original recipe. And that is a safety guideline to make sure that you and your Thermomix are not harmed in the process of high temperature cooking. Let's explore the main menu. When you press the sandwich menu, or the main menu on the top left-hand corner, you'll be able to access My Recipes. This gives you access to your bookmarked recipes, your created collections, and your saved collections. You can bookmark, save, and create collections straight from the screen of your Thermomix or from your Cookidoo app on your phone, tablet, or even on your PC. My bookmarks here are the top recipes that my family and I make. So we've got things like almond milk, barbecued onions, browned onion, white basmati rice, and our favourite yogurt recipe. You can see the theme there. So the things that we access a lot. So these recipes in your bookmarks, you shouldn't have too many of them so you can locate them quickly and easily. From the main menu, you can access My Week, which gives you a visual view of your weekly planner. It will show you what you've scheduled to cook today. If you don't get around to cooking all of the recipes that you planned on that day, did you know you can press the 3 dots on the bottom right of that recipe and you can choose to add the ingredients to your shopping list, you can move it to another day, or you can add it to a collection or simply remove it. If you move it to another day, it will bring up a calendar option for you to select which day you'd like to cook that recipe on. You can change the list view on your weekly planner by toggling between the 2 icons on the top right hand corner of your Thermomix screen. The first option gives you a list view, and the second option gives you a calendar view so you can scroll between the weeks. When you're ready to cook a recipe, simply select the one that you want. You're ready to start cooking. If you select the Add to Collection button, I know this recipe will be a great recipe to entertain with, so I'm going to pop that into my entertaining collection. Collections are exactly that, a collection of your favourite recipes that you can categorise in the way that you want. So for instance, I have collections for things like dips, breakfasts, cocktails, quick dinners, gluten-free, vegan, you name it. So I love with the collections that I can quickly find the recipes that I'm after. One of the biggest advancements of the Thermomix TM6 is the access to all of these new cooking modes. To access your cooking modes, scroll from the right to the left on your Thermomix screen, and there are 2 pages of modes to choose from. This is how you manually access your scales, simply by pressing the button, and you can see as I lean on the Thermomix, it's going to start weighing. So it's really important when you weigh something into your Thermomix that the scales say 0 before you start. Hit the green tear button and it will bring your scales back to 0. Make sure your cord is extended enough that it's not creating tension on your Thermomix or pulling on the Thermomix, because you want those scales to be as accurate as possible. If you are concerned that your scales aren't working efficiently, make sure you contact your consultant. we'll be able to help you troubleshoot if something is the matter. Most commonly with scales, there will be a little bit of food debris under the feet of your Thermomix. When you wipe down the feet or give them a little wiggle to make sure that there's no food debris stuck under them, sit your Thermomix flat. Always has to be on a flat level surface, so remember that if you're camping or using a trestle table, to stay with your Thermomix and make sure it doesn't go walkabout. One test that we recommend is weighing the measuring cup. So when your scales are reading 0, weigh the measuring cup and it will be around 82 to 84 grams. This is a known weight. It's important that you don't test your scales with a full bag of flour because it will always be a little bit more than a kilo, for instance. Do you love making bread? So do I. The dough mode on your Thermomix will allow you to save the elbow grease when you're making things like breads, pizza, pastries, pasta doughs. To activate the kneading mode, simply select the dough mode, set the time that you want, or if you're winging the recipe and you're not sure how much time you need, simply turn the dial and then press the large selector to stop when you've finished kneading. As a rough guide, 2 minutes of kneading in the Thermomix is the equivalent of 5 to 10 minutes of hand kneading. If you're wanting to convert one of your recipes, I encourage you to look up a similar recipe on Cookidoo that's been triple tested by our recipe development team, and that will give you a great indication of how long to knead for. Also reference in the front of your basic cookbook the kneading guideline. Of course, you can still access our great kneading function when using our guided cooking recipes. It will automatically be built into the recipe, so you don't have to remember to activate it. When using the turbo mode on your TM6, it will automatically activate the locking arms as a safety mechanism. It's important that you always use the measuring cup using this mode. This mode will use short bursts of very high speed to process hard ingredients like parmesan or chocolate into medium-sized pieces in half a second, 1 second or 2 second intervals. You can change the intervals by selecting which one is most appropriate using the speed selector. When you're ready to activate the mode, simply select the turbo dial and turn the dial. The blade will stop after your selected time interval. So you can either take the measuring cup off and check the ingredients once the ingredients have stopped moving. And you can actually use this dial again multiple times. So say for instance you were making minced meat with cubed meat around about 3 centimeters in size, partially frozen of course to help chop through any fatty or sinewy bits. Pop the meat in, activate turbo mode, turn the dial on 1 second and activate that 2 or 3 times for perfect mincemeat. To access more information about your modes, simply select the information icon on the top right hand corner of the screen and it will give you more detailed options. When cleaning your Thermomix, there's a few products that I really love to have handy. For cleaning out your bowl, I like these $5 brushes. You can get these from the mix shop. They're super easy to pop down in and around the blades and get out anything that might be sticky or stuck in the blades there. Now, if you don't like using plastic, there is an environmentally friendly option in the mix shop as well, and this one is just every bit as good as the plastic version. So your choice. There are these little blade brushes available as well. Now they are particularly handy if you're cleaning your blades. You can get in and around these bits. I make a lot of bread dough, so I find that these little brushes do tend to get in for a much more coarse clean, and these are a very coarse brush. For just everyday scrubbing, the Euro scrubbies are a fantastic alternative to things like steel wool, and they'll be gentle on your Thermomix bowl. And when you're using your Thermomix TM6, there is a pre-clean mode. That means cleaning is an absolute breeze. When you first use a mode on your TM6, you'll have a whole heap of extra information to show you how to get the most out of your mode. This is really important that you're aware of this extra information. So this is the pre-clean mode, and it's telling me that if I'm using the high temperature cleaning mode, not to use dishwashing detergent and just to use vinegar, because it agitates and cleans so rapidly that you don't want to create a bubble fountain. So on all of the other modes, we've got a fat or caramel mode, a universal mode, and a dough mode. It will set the appropriate temperature and agitation depending on what you need. To use the mode, simply press the cross button, or if you don't want to see that message again, say don't show this message again. And you can always access the same message through the information icon on the top right hand side of your screen. To use a clean mode, the lid must be on, and you simply turn the dial to whichever setting you need. Remember, you'll always have water in here and a couple of drops of dishwashing liquid or a splash of vinegar, depending on which mode you're using. It's important we know how to operate our Thermomix safely when processing hot liquids. The easiest way on your Thermomix TM6, if you're making a hot soup or maybe a stock, or you could use this same mode for smoothies as well, swipe from right to left and select the blend mode. Please use your measuring cup when you're activating this mode to make sure that all of the contents stay securely in the bowl. And I love this mode because it does gradually increase the speed of your Thermomix, which means you'll be processing your liquids safely. To boil eggs in your TM6, simply select the egg boiler mode on the bottom left-hand corner of the mode screen. This mode allows you to use up to 6 eggs straight from the fridge and room temperature water. And when you're ready to cook, you simply select soft, medium, or hard boiled, and you're off and cooking. This mode is one of the few modes where your Thermomix blades don't actually turn. The water will bring to the boil and keep the eggs in their shells safely until they're cooked perfectly to your liking. When the eggs are finished cooking, simply pour the contents through the steamer basket into your sink. Catch the eggs, rinse them under cool water so that they stop cooking. When they're cool enough to handle, you can peel them in the simmering basket to catch any peels so that you contain the mess. To activate the kettle mode on your Thermomix, simply select kettle and it will default to 100 degrees. If you're steeping a herbal tea, you can adjust this simply by using the speed selector. To the temperature that you desire, pop the water in and simply turn the dial. Once the Thermomix reaches the target temperature, it will alert you and then chime so you'll know that it's finished. This is just another reason why the Thermomix combines all of these amazing appliances into one, so you can save space in your kitchen and operate your Thermomix efficiently. One of our newest modes is called warm-up mode. It's located in the center of the bottom of your Thermomix screen. You can access more information about this mode by clicking on the information icon on the top right-hand corner of your screen. You'll use this mode to heat up things like milks, soups, sauces, and stews. There's some extra tips that suggest to insert the measuring cup to prevent any food from splashing. Insert your butterfly whisk. If there's large chunks of food in there, it will help to churn them to heat efficiently. Use this mode to heat baby food to 37 degrees, so it's the perfect temperature to serve to your bub. You can heat milks to 80 to 85 degrees to prevent them from overboiling. You can heat foods to 90 degrees when contents are 1 litre or greater. You can heat thicker sauces by adding between 30 to 100 grams of water or broth, and you can heat delicate sauces at 45 to 50 degrees on speed 2. So use that for things like hollandaise or béarnaise. So accessing these hints and tips make using these modes even easier than ever. When you're ready to use the mode, set the temperature that you desire and simply turn the dial. One of my favourite modes to use on my TM6 is Thicken Mode. This mode allows you one touch of a button to do things like your favourite sauces, gravies, curds and custards. That means that you can add all of the ingredients at once and simply turn the dial to do all of the stirring for you. So you could use this for something as simple as adding a store-bought Gravox with the water and stirring it for you. Or you could be making amazing hollandaise, béarnaise, gravies, Diane sauce, custards, curds, all of those things from scratch with no additives. For egg-based sauces, select 80 degrees for the temperature, and for flour-based sauces, select 100 degrees. Once you've got your ingredients in the bowl, select the thicken dial on the right-hand side of your screen and turn the dial. The Thermomix will sense the resistance on the blades and it will change speeds according to what's in the bowl, and once it's complete, it will chime and you'll be ready to eat. How many appliances has your Thermomix replaced already? The rice cooker function on your TM6 is just another example of a whole appliance that you can get rid of because your TM6 combines them all into one compact, handy unit. When using the rice cooker mode, simply select the mode, add the ingredients, the rice, the water, the seasoning that you'd like, and then simply turn the dial. If you're not sure of the ratio of rice to water and seasoning that you need to use, select a recipe from Cookidoo. So you can search recipes like white or brown basmati rice, bulgur, wheat, and all sorts of different grains and seeds using the rice cooker mode. It can't be any easier than that. Fermentation mode is the mode that you'll use to create things that need a constant temperature for a long period of time. For me, I use this to proof bread dough in winter when it's really cold. And I also use this to make beautiful little pot set yogurts. There are 3 ways to make yogurt in your Thermomix TM6. You can go straight in the bowl with up to 2.2 litres of yogurt. Make sure you set the temperature to 37 degrees if it's straight in the bowl, and that will keep the yogurt at a constant temperature for the length of time you need. And you can adjust this time right up to 12 hours depending on what type of yogurt recipe. So you might be making a dairy yogurt or coconut yogurt or any of the nut milks, so almond or cashew for instance. The other ways that you can make yogurt would be in your Varoma. You can place our brand new white thermo server. So it's a 2.2 litre thermo server and has a beautiful clear lid. Isn't that lovely? And that's an insulated serving bowl. So you could use this to keep your food hot or cold for a good couple of hours depending on the weather. Or you could actually fit that entire thing into your Thermomix Varoma, fill it with your pre-pasteurized milk, oops, and pop it on top. Now, when you're fermenting yogurt in the Varoma on your Thermomix, the temperature will need to be hotter than 37 degrees for the liquid in the bowl. You'll need to create an ambient temperature up the top of around 37 to 40 degrees, depending on what you're fermenting. So the correct temperature is 70 degrees to heat the liquid. That will then keep your Varoma at the appropriate temperature to make perfect yogurt every time. If you're not sure what temperatures or how long to cook your yogurt for, then follow one of our Cookidoo recipes. They're triple tested by our recipe development team. When you've finished cooking with your Varoma, make sure you use the lid to catch any drips on the way down. The third way to make yogurt, and this is the way that my family do it, is using these little cute yogurt pots. So they are little yogurt jars that sit inside the Thermomix. This is what they look like. See the little blades on the bottom? Now you can purchase these in a set of 8 from the mix shop, and once you've put your pasteurized milk in these, you can pop 8 or 9 at a time, fit into the Varoma, the lid on top, and then follow the instructions according to your recipe for the length of time. Always remember to pop a splash of citrus juice or perhaps some ascorbic acid into the liquid when you're using fermentation or sous vide modes to prevent surface rust from forming on the blades. Did you know you can use your Thermomix TM6 as a slow cooker? There is a slow cook mode on the second page of the modes. When you select this mode, you can cook up to 800 grams of meat or vegetables covered with liquid and cook for up to 8 hours. So you can set and forget. The temperature can go up to 98 degrees and as low as 37 degrees. So you can cook all your slow cooked favourites just like you would in your slow cooker. Also, when you're cooking with watery liquids, it's important to add wine, apple juice, vinegar or citric acid into the mix to prevent oxidation on the blades of your Thermomix. That way, it'll be less scrubbing for you after you've made it and a better balance in the flavours of your recipe. To activate the slow cook mode, simply select how long you'd like to cook for, the temperature in which you'd like to cook it, and turn the slow cook dial. If you're not sure how long to cook your recipe for, it's best to choose one of our slow cooked Cookidoo recipes. You can do a search in Cookidoo simply by typing in slow cooked to find some appropriate recipes using this mode. Sous vide allows you to cook proteins and vegetables and even chocolate at a low constant temperature to give you perfect succulent results every time. In the information section of your sous vide mode, you'll also have some extra hints to use your sous vide mode efficiently. It's important that you've used the juice of a lemon or some ascorbic acid in the bowl of the Thermomix with the water to prevent any surface rust. It's important you do this when your Thermomix is on for any extended period of time, like for instance if you're fermenting or doing a sous vide. Now this mode you can set up to 12 hours and up to the highest temperature is 85 degrees. So the goal with sous vide is to cook your food at a low, slow temperature, so you'll have a restaurant quality protein that you can cut with a butter knife rather than a steak knife. To use this mode, you'll need to have your food in an airtight bag. There's a few options available. If you already have a cryovac or you might have a butcher who can cryo-vac your meats for you, that's fine. In the mix shop, we have an amazing handheld vacuum sealer. So this little device is used with a handheld vacuum sealer bag. And I love these because you can actually write the date and put notes about what's inside, because if your freezer's like mine, sometimes things can get lost. So it is a Ziploc bag. Once you add your food in and seal it, this little air valve is activated when you press down with your handheld vacuum sealer. You can also reach for a normal Ziploc bag, but it's imperative that this stays watertight and airtight during the cooking process. The reason for that is you want no air in the bag, otherwise the bag will float. And secondly, you don't want water in the bag or your food will start stewing. Add your meat and whatever flavors you'd like into the parcel and suck the air out from it. Place your cryovac bags or your watertight bags in the Thermomix basket. Make sure the lid closes down flat and make sure that the bags of food are covered with liquid. Pop the lid on, always use the measuring cup, and then select the desired time, temperature, and turn the dial to activate the mode. And then I always finish it off in a fry pan to caramelize the outside. If you're slow cooking or doing a sous vide, you can use the blade cover. The blade cover will increase the capacity of food that fits into your Thermomix without coming into contact with the blades. So the blade cover has two little notches that sit on top, and it has a warped design so that it will turn the food and churn it evenly. So it gets inserted on top of the blades, and always make sure it's sitting flat. So these two parts will sit evenly with the top of your blade cover. Now the blade cover doesn't come with your Thermomix, it's a separate purchase. It's just over $30 and available from the mix shop. So if you're doing a sous vide with a blade cover, you can fit up to around 6 eye fillets or perhaps 4 chicken breasts into your Thermomix bowl and cover them with water. Using the sous vide mode, and use a guide so you know what length of time and what temperature to cook the meat to the desired doneness. So you can find a whole range of sous vide recipes on cookidoo.com.au or online through the mix shop. You'll be able to see a guide for using your blade cover, and that will come with a guide for doing sous vide and slow cooking as well. To access your Thermomix settings, press the main menu on the top left corner, select settings, and scroll to which setting you would like to adjust. So you can adjust the language on your machine, and that will adjust the language used on the dials and the safety instructions. The language on the recipes you read will be according to the country of origin of that recipe. So if you select a recipe from Cookidoo that's in Italian, it will appear on the screen of your Thermomix in Italian. Never fear, you can use amazing apps like Google Translate to translate the screen of your Thermomix quickly and easily. Ask your consultant how. You can adjust the sound settings on your Thermomix simply by accessing the main menu and settings, and then select sounds. You can alter the volume of the chime to low, medium, or loud. You can adjust the duration from unlimited, which means 15 minutes until shutdown, and you can go right back to as little as 10 seconds. That's what I prefer. I have it loud enough for me to hear, but it will stop after 10 seconds in case I'm distracted. On your TM6, there's lots of melodies to choose from. So you can choose from things like digital noises, guitars, mandolins, and the good old Thermomix sound. So the choice is yours. It doesn't matter which one you prefer. I have two Thermies, so I have them both set on different sound settings so I know which one finishes when. You can adjust the display on your Thermomix screen simply by accessing the main menu and then settings. Select the display option, and on here you'll be able to adjust the brightness of your screen. You can see that if you're filming, it doesn't help to have a bright screen, or I can set it right down low to have it on a very dimly lit screen. So you can choose the brightness according to the natural light in your kitchen. When you travel with your Thermomix, it's really important that you're traveling with your Thermomix safely. I have a few tips for you. The first thing I do, I take off my measuring cup, I pop my measuring cup into the steamer basket, and I pop my butterfly whisk on top. The basket goes into the Thermomix, the lid goes on top, and the splash guard goes on top of that. In your settings, you can activate transportation mode. When you press activate, it will activate the locking arms into place, which means that your lid, your splash guard, the basket with the MC and your butterfly whisk are all locked securely into position. And then to power your Thermomix down, simply hold the selector in for 3 seconds. We do recommend that you have a travel bag if you intend to travel with your Thermomix regularly. Loads of our customers will travel with their Thermomix if they're trying to manage dietary requirements or save money on takeout food when you're away, or simply for the cocktails. Did I mention them? They're amazing. It's a 2.2 litre jug. In the mix shop, the heavy duty carry bag will house all of your accessories, including the Varoma and your spatula and butterfly whisk. So make sure that you're protecting the scales of your Thermomix if you travel. Never sit your Thermomix in the base of your car, on the floor or on the seat, because this could cause the scales to be knocked out of whack and they would need to go back to the service department to be recalibrated. If you're only traveling, between houses, you may have kept your original box that the Thermomix came in which case you could use the original packaging crate to house your Thermomix scales correctly and make sure that it arrives safely, so you can start cooking when you arrive at your destination. If you want to go away and you're not going to have access to Wi-Fi, make sure you save your recipes to Collections before you go. Your TM6 will hold up to 10,000 recipes, so if they're all synchronized before you leave, they will stay on your Thermomix ready to be accessed whenever you are. Did you know you can change the system of measurement on your Thermomix? In the settings from the main menu, scroll down a little and you'll find under transportation mode, system of measurement. When you select that, you can switch between imperial or metric measurements. I switch to imperial measurements, which will put my temperature into Fahrenheit and my scales into pounds and ounces when I'm cooking from my grandmother's very old recipes. And that means that I don't have to convert the recipes manually anymore. Too easy. Give you a few cleaning tips for the whole of your Thermomix. We all know that the parts of your Thermomix are dishwasher safe, except for the big white base with the power cord, but sometimes we forget that the big white base does need a bit of love as well. Now, some tips: I use a soft damp cloth but be mindful of microfiber cloths on the Thermomix and the Vorwerk logos. The little fibers can scrape the silver logos off, but using a damp cloth, wipe all over all the surfaces. The button can actually come off if it really needs to, and you can clean behind it, although I find that using the edge of a cloth just like that can get in and around the button efficiently to give it a good little clean. If you find that the touch screen isn't behaving the way that it should, there is a small chance that you've got a light film of maybe a floury substance on your screen, so make sure you use a damp cloth to give that a really good wipe, and the screen should come good. However, if it doesn't, make sure you let me or your consultant know if you're having any sort of issue with your Thermomix not working efficiently. We want you guys to get the absolute most out of your investment, and we have amazing service centres around the country who can help you. Now, if you turn your Thermi around to face the other way, there is a grill on the back. At the bottom of the grill is a little lug that you can pull and remove this section. So this means that you can wipe away any grime that's under there. And with the amount of use that our Thermomixes get, it means that getting rid of this grime will keep your Thermomix in great condition for as long as possible. Now, there's two lugs at the top that fit in here. These are also designed to keep insects out of your Thermomix. So insects sometimes love warm places to live, so we've got great guards on there. There is also another at the base of your Thermomix here. To remove this plate, pop your finger into that little drain hole there and pull towards the back of the Thermomix, lift it off, and as you can see, there is a bit of grime there, so that needs a good wipe, as well as the base of your Thermomix. Make sure there's no food debris on the feet and any other little spills that you might have missed, because you can't see that bit when the Thermomix is sitting upright. Always check your feet that there's no food debris, and that will make sure that your scales are working efficiently. Wipe away any excess and simply replace the grill. So the back gets inserted first, and then everything will press back into place. By ensuring that your Thermomix is all wiped down regularly, will extend the life and make sure that no little infestations come around and move on in. In Australia, we do get those horrible little German cockroaches that can be a problem in some areas, so it's important that we keep any food residue off your Thermomix casing. I hope you enjoyed these tips on how to keep your Thermomix new and shiny looking for as long as possible. They are a very sexy little machine that will look good on your kitchen bench for years to come. Thanks for watching Cath's Thermo Tricks. I hope that you have learnt another tip to help you get the most out of your Thermomix.